So, I got a couple of questions that were pointing to the rewired soul and saying, but isn't he kind of a little bit like Joy? I don't want to do this. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna. I'm not happy to do this. He says with a giant grin on his face. I'm kind of happy to do this because it's been a while since I've been in trouble. And it's kind of fun to be in trouble when I'm so very right. Alright. I don't like to do this because it invites conflict. Everything will become clear by the end of this. But I'm tapping into the cesspool that is the Joy lover and hater community and the Rewired soul lover hater community with a little Trish Paytas thrown in there for garnish because Trish Paytas and the Rewired soul are having a thing right now. Nevertheless, I am now not tapping one, not two, but three little cesspools of people who are just in it just to fucking be upset about something so that they can be the person that suggests the thing that their favorite YouTuber talks about. Right? I don't like doing it because I'm not in it. I don't like doing it. But I'll do it every once in a while because I do pick up maybe one person every time I do one of these things that will actually like me and enjoy my content. And that's always cool. So, this is how I grow my channel, doing shit like this. But nevertheless, here we are. So the question was asked, is the Rewired soul maybe not just a little bit like Joy? And the answer, I believe, is very obvious. Yeah, he's the male version of Joy. But I would say quite possibly in almost every way. The argument kind of is almost made like to say that in the beginning Joy's plan was to just take people's money, to give them this story, this sob story, this line, all under the guise of I'm trying to help, give me your money. They see Joy as a giant scam. Somebody who never cared about them. Right? And people, it seems, from what I've been told recently, they kind of look at the Rewired soul the same way. If you were to ask me, do I believe that it's possible that that's the way they began, that this was just a giant con, just to target people who are looking for answers and guidance in life and to take their money? Do I think that that's a possibility? Sure. There are bad people everywhere. Do I think honestly that that is in the realm of probability? In either case, no. I honestly don't think that that was the starting motivation for Joy or this guy from the Rewired soul. I don't think that's how it began in their minds. I honestly don't. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I'm taken in by the whole thing. But I watched Joy from the start, quite literally. I subscribed to her channel on video 5. I think she had made 5 videos, so that was like her first day. Nevertheless, and I've watched enough of this Rewired soul guy, and I've seen enough of his rhetoric from reading that article that I can honestly say that no, I don't really believe that that was the plan from the beginning. Now, does that mean that they're not corrupt? No. No, it doesn't. They're both pretty corrupt. Here's the thing. They each have medical problems of some sort or another. They go to the doctor a lot. Through the process of that, you learn some things, right? Because you're bored while you're sitting there. So maybe you start asking a lot of questions. Then maybe you do some WebMD research on your own problems, and maybe that interests you in looking into other problems. So then you begin to think that you have a good grasp of the knowledge of medicine. That it takes doctors years of intense schooling to master, and they still call it a practice for a reason. So hey, I think I can help people give a little bit back. Maybe ease the burden of the doctors who have such heavy caseloads. So I'll be a YouTube doctor. And I will give people my diagnosis while telling them I'm not giving you a diagnosis. You should still see a doctor. Like that means anything. And then they get a little bit of fame, notoriety, whatever you want to call it, for doing what I call pumping the cesspool. They find somebody who has a large audience. When you get to the point where you have a very large audience, hundreds of thousands of people, then you have a lot of those people who subscribe to that person because they don't like them. They subscribe because they want to see when they get upset because somebody has attacked them, so that they can go to that person who has attacked them video and watch that and laugh their asses off about how fucking ridiculous the person that they don't like is, so that they can go back to the comment section of the video that was made crying about the video that was made about them, so that they can leave a shitty comment bolstering the argument in some way that they believe of the original video. There's people that actually spend their time to do this. Everybody needs a hobby, right? My hobby is doing this. Who's to say anybody's better than anybody else? But nevertheless. So, they latch into that cesspool of haters. And they pump that cesspool for all it's worth. And they do a series of videos, sometimes multiple series of videos back to back about the same person. And they pump that cesspool as much as they can and get as much as they possibly can out of it. Right? Then they have to move on to a new cesspool because this well has run dry. So they find somebody else. They have a very large audience. And they start kind of poking around in there. Now, I don't think in the case, this is where the paths kind of diverge a little bit between Joy and the Rewired Soul. Joy went out with the intention of hardcore going after Onision. The Rewired Soul seems to tackle many different various topics stemming from many different various people and situations. But nevertheless, the effect is kind of the same. It's just he's pumping a lot more cesspools, but doing it a lot slower. Maybe he's at a more stable pace. I don't know. They seem to have kind of the same trajectories. He's blown up a lot more than Joy has. I'm not entirely sure his entire history. I don't know. But nevertheless, that seems to be the thing. You take on the people with the large audiences, you poke out their flaws, and voila, audience. One of the people that I replied to their comment, I said that there should be a YouTube category, like gaming, you know, the gaming category channel. You can subscribe to gaming and it'll just be a bunch of gaming videos, you know, that shit. There should be one called People Suffering. It would have 500 billion subscribers. fucking, and it would blow up overnight. People suffering. And put all of the drama tubers and all of the people who talk about their illnesses and all that kind of stuff, and all of the people crying and all that kind of shit, people getting beat up. Just put all that shit in there. Make it that category. People suffering. It would do big business. And it would be about as disgusting as it could possibly get. Nevertheless, people suffering. That's what people like to watch. And sometimes people like to watch that because they like to have the thought that I'm not alone. I'm not suffering alone out here in the world. There's somebody else like me. That's comforting to a lot of people. And it's comforting in such an intense way that it becomes very much a part of you. You get very attached to that. Because that's somebody else that you're now suffering through this with. Even just remotely. So, another type of people that like to watch that kind of stuff is people that just like to watch people suffer. And there's just nothing quite like being the cause of that suffering to some of those people. So they decide that they're going to pick at that sore. Be nasty. And so the people who identify with that, they take it very personally. And they get upset back, and then it winds up wars. But that conflict is where the channel grows. The one side gathers more people who are going to defend the person, the other side gathers more people who are going to hate the person, and the channel grows, right? And as the channel grows faster and faster and faster, you want to keep seeing those numbers. When the numbers start dwindling down, you go, shit. Well, now I got to do something to get the numbers back up. And some people live through the analytics. Usually I just look at my analytics when I want a good giggle. It's like, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But usually they're just bad. You know, like they're just whatever. Like they're good for me, but it's not fantastic. And I'm like, whatever. I still enjoy what I'm doing. I don't give a shit. But when you get to the point where you can do this as a living, you know, that's when you start going, this is my job. And you gotta feed yourself, you know. So you go, well, this worked, so I'm going to do more of it. And then you do more of what works. And when you do that, people start to call into question, why are you doing this thing? Because it's kind of despicable. And you don't want to say, because it's what works. It's how I feed my family. You don't want to say that because that's shitty. So what do? You have to make yourself look good somehow. You have to maintain the facade that I'm trying to help everybody. And myself. You know, and you can't say that because that's selfish. But that's the truth. You're still trying to help everybody. But now, you figure, this is my job now. Got to get more people in the door. Got to help more people. Because I need more money. Because some months are bad. And now I'm demonetized. You know, somebody complained and now I'm demonetized. So you keep pumping the cesspools. Because the money has to keep flowing. And then you fall into that trap. And that is a quagmire that you can't get out of it. Because you can't tell the truth. And everybody's going to see through your lies. And everything starts to fall apart. Because you're trying to juggle 100 or so. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm at now. And I've got a good dozen or so people. Maybe even a couple dozen of people that talk to me on a fairly regular basis. Some drop in and out here and there. Some people aren't as, chatty with me as others. Some people text me a lot. I live through my phone. It's how I communicate with everybody, more or less. And I don't mind. I enjoy the interaction. But I'm juggling a few dozen people. And most of them I've had to talk with. That, hey, you can talk to me as much as you want, but I am never going to promise you a speedy response. And if you're looking for a speedy response, you're never going to get it. And if you start yelling at me that I'm not responding to you fast enough, I'm going to cut you off. Because I can't have somebody that needy in my life. You know, it's not going to work. I'm a very busy guy. You're not the only person that texts me. So, you know, everybody has had that conversation with me at one point. And everybody's gone, okay. Some people, it was a problem. You know. But I've got 2,500 subscribers. I can't imagine what it's like at 60-some thousand subscribers. There's probably quite a few more than a couple of dozen. There's a couple dozen. You know, there's a lot of people that you probably have constantly talking to you. And at 100,000 subscribers, oh my. And not everybody you run into is good people. And sometimes it takes a very long time to really find that out and have that settle in. And that's for somebody with years of experience doing this. And I still make mistakes. But my mistakes have been lucky. Like, we'll see when it all finally ends up. Never know. But all of my mistakes, for the most part, have been lucky. They've been scary, but they've been lucky. I cut people off completely in every way. You have no more contact with me, period. Generally, that seems to work, right? But at the same time, that means that I don't know what they're doing. And that's scary sometimes. Nevertheless, a lot more people, a lot more eventuality for that kind of shit. And when you don't really know what you're doing, when you can't weed people out fast enough and tell, you're a nutbag, I need not talk to you very much. When you can't figure that out, shit slips through the cracks. Maybe you don't quite recognize somebody that you thought to yourself, I think this person is kind of weird, and then you say something that really sets them off, and then they go, you go, wow, okay, I remember you now. You know, like, it's stressful dealing with people in a normal everyday basis. And you deal with how many people on a normal everyday basis? 5? Maybe 10? Unless you work in the service industry, and then you deal with a lot of people on a regular basis. But that's a stressful job. And it's not the same people every day that you're building a history with now. You know what I mean? Like, it's... And you only can work with what you get from people. I only know as much about you guys as you tell me in the comments. And I have to fill in the blanks somewhere. Right? Had somebody today kind of told me off because I was making assumptions about them. And I said, well, the only time you ever comment is when you disagree with me, and usually you just tell me I'm delusional. And that's it. You never give me anything. You talk about a lot of talking points that I've already talked about and debunked. I wonder if you actually watch the videos. Like, you know, and you made a lot of assumptions. I agree with this perspective. And I'm like, alright, fantastic. So what? Why don't you ever tell me that in those videos? I make videos on that subject too. And you never chime in with all of your big brain knowledge on those fucking things. So... what am I to think of you when the only thing you ever tell me is that I'm delusional? You know what I mean? So it's like you only get what people give you too. So, and they're playing their own games too. The audience plays games with the creators because they want to be talked about. And you got to figure out when that is. To see if you're enticing somebody to annoy you just so that they can get attention. And then you give them attention, which just gives them the reward. So you got to figure that shit out too. How far do you take it with people? How much do you talk back? And then as time wears on, people get needier and needier. When you're dealing with the mental health community especially. because they are looking to you for support in times of need. And a lot of their times of need are in sync. And you're trying to help a lot of people that are depressed or whatever. And that's depressing. So if you yourself have some kind of depression, that doesn't help, you know, like, and because you're not practiced, you're not experienced, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the ability to talk somebody down in a way that's then going to satisfy them for an extended amount of time. You know how to slap a Band-Aid on it because you're a YouTube doctor. You're not a fucking psychiatrist. And when you're dealing with mental health, especially things like depression and whatnot, you have to be very careful. That's dangerous shit. You can say the wrong thing not knowing that just because it's in a movie, that doesn't mean it works in real life. And it doesn't mean it works in all cases. You can't just say that to somebody and not have it maybe go fucking south. And sometimes people do that shit. Bad stuff happens. You have to be responsible with what you're doing. Listen to some professionals for a few years. In a medical school setting of some sort. I don't know. Like, I don't give people surgery advice. You want to know why? I'm not a surgeon! And I always tell people, if you're looking to me for advice, please do it under the guise of wanting to have a giggle. You know, like, I don't take myself so seriously as to say that I'm educating people on mental health. I talk about wackadoos, and I use that as a medical term. You know, so when I say, hey, hit me up if you want some advice on a topic, usually what I get in response is sometimes kind of deep, but general, you know, issues that people generally have in life. And I give what I think is the best advice. And then I immediately say, but, you know, hey, that's just what I think. I'm not somebody to model your life after. I'm a YouTuber. You know, so. But these people are going, you got to trust me. Because I'm a YouTuber. I'm on TV. And then the money rolls in. And you got to get more. And controversy brings in more money. So you fuck with more and more people, bring in more and more controversy, then you become the controversy. But I was just trying to help. And then that looks pretty shitty when you're profiting off of your hard work. I mean, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But people generally look at things like what you're doing as being a non-profit type thing. Because generally people that do things like what you're doing do it as a non-profit type thing. And people with mental health problems, you know, they're very trusting when they identify with somebody. And you have to manage that very carefully. You have to maintain boundaries with people. If you want to be a doctor to people, you need to treat those people as if they're your patients. And generally, doctors don't allow their patients to text them at all hours of the day, whenever they wish. They have boundaries. You know, like, then these things are in place for a fucking reason. They call it a practice still, because they're still learning. But nevertheless, these are lessons that have been taught. Doctor-patient boundaries. Those are important. And if you don't know what they are, if you don't know how to properly manage them, maintain them, you lose a lot. There's a lot of technique to talking to people about their problems. A lot of technique to helping people with their problems. And if you don't know, then you're fucked. And you can really hurt somebody. And I'm not saying this like I know. I know enough to know that if you don't know, you're going to cause more problems than you're going to solve. So I accept that. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this from any... from my fucking high horse. No. I know that much. That if you don't know, you can cause problems. So I don't talk a lot about mental health, except to go, that guy's fucking wacky, you know? Haha. But I'm not trying to solve their problems. And people get that with my channel. That's why nobody's screaming at me, because my channel's monetized. I'm making jokes. I got jokes, folks. Right? But these people get really full of themselves and take themselves very seriously. As soon as they start hearing, I started listening to you, man, and it's totally helped me. And you get a lot of that. And you get a lot of fucking, I don't like you. And you say to yourself, well, I'm getting more positive than negative. So I've finally developed my own cesspool, and now I have to sit in it. And then the stress sets in. Questions. I'm doing work. You pay your doctor, right? You're not a doctor. You're scamming at this point. That's the way people see it. Yeah, that's how it happens. You know, you pick at the fruit that will, or you pick at the trees that will bear the most fruit, and you do it in a way that will be divisive enough to carve out your niche. And then you grow your niche until your niche grows out of your control, because you don't know how to control your niche. And then everything goes very, very far south. And that was the trajectory for Joy. And that is the trajectory for this guy. This guy, it seems, has hit his first major moment. Joy hit hers a lot sooner. I think the debate with Onision was definitely a high point. Whatever. But yeah, he's hit his debate with Onision. He's there. Trish Paytas. So the descent is imminent. He's already taken one break, and then now he's in trouble, and now he's apologized. So now his real base that is still in the, well, he's just trying to help, and he's not a professional category, they're still going to be on his side because that's his core audience. And all of the people that feel hurt because now he's been questioned, and now they're starting to see what other people are saying, and now they're hurt because they feel betrayed, and they're going to be the audience that people like me are going after to pump that cesspool. And then, you know, everybody's going to be looking to just get their piece of it. And I'm just looking for the one or two of you that'll watch my video and go, man, this guy fucking seems like he got his shit together. I'll see what he does tomorrow. And then when I talk about the Mueller report, everybody's gonna, or whatever. I'm thinking about reviewing the Submariner tomorrow. I just finished watching the Submariner. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I really did. So I kind of want to talk about that tomorrow. It has jokes too. Some of them were not good. But yeah, I don't know. It's a dirty business, and that's why I got out of it. I started to, you know, I admit that there are times that I could be like everybody else, and somebody goes, "Oh, this person's a dick," and I go, "Yeah, fuck 'em." And then as I'm sitting there in the group of people screaming, "Fuck 'em," I start looking around, going, "Man, why are we all screaming around? Fuck 'em. I was doing it to be funny. You're all doing it serious." And then I start going, "This isn't comfortable anymore," and then I try to get out, and I got out. And I'm going to have to see what clever, funny way I can title this one so that people won't think it involves Joy. That's how I stay out. That's how I can still talk about her, but not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about her, but it's hidden, so she'll never know, because you guys won't tell on me. Because if you tell on me, I will excommunicate you. You're out of the cult. Yeah, they get these little cult followings. Joy got a big cult following. And this guy's probably got his little cult following too. And I could be wrong on this too. I could be totally wrong on this. In the last video I made, everybody sent me all manner of links and videos and stuff going, "Fuck Joy." And on this one, I'm sure I'm going to get all the people that like this guy going, "No, he's really not like that. He's trying to help." And I'm going to get his entire backstory. But I don't think it's going to really change anything, because, I mean, it's like I said yesterday in the beginning of the video. If you're in it, and if you're really paying attention, it's right on the surface. You know what I mean? Like, I knew all this last night. Everything that everybody told me today, I expected to hear. I expected to hear he's like Joy. Because, I mean, Joy's channel for a very brief amount of time started to look like his channel when Joy tried for a very brief amount of time to get away from the Onision stuff. This was way back in the beginning. Way back in December of fucking 2016? Something like that. Way back then. Joy, for a brief period, tried to do more mental health education type videos and less Onision. They got considerably less views. So, you know, but they had all the same titles, you know, talking about this, you know, and how it relates to mental health. And this guy's, all his videos have that kind of shit, but he doesn't seem like he's a shitty dude. He just seems like he's fucking terribly ignorant, doesn't understand what he's doing is not the way to do it. If you want to be a doctor, learn to be a doctor. Don't think you can just jump on TV and be a doctor. Doesn't work. And you get yourself in trouble. And your patients, you have to develop a history with your patients. And they all want immediate diagnosis, and you have to tell them, "Look, this is a process." And I don't know what I'm doing, so don't talk to me about it. Like, you know, I mean, you got to manage that shit somehow to where you have that firm in their mind. That's how you do it. But that's not how you make the money. That's just how you help people. So what is it you really want to do?